By the way, this is the crappiest thing I've ever held in my hands. It's awful. Hello fellow hoarders of the blue, and welcome to my channel, and also welcome to part 2 of my SLAPCHOP adventure. In this video we'll be exploring painting vehicles using this technique and some simple finishing touches to take your vehicles to the next level with not much effort. This is an airbrush free video. I will only use the exact same tools I did for the infantry video, just my Rosemary & Co dry brushes and Vallejo Express color applied with a brush. This technique will work fine for medium-sized vehicles like Sentinels and Dreadnoughts, but for anything bigger, I highly suggest you use an airbrush to apply the express color or contrast layer for the best finish, but you can still use the initial dry brush pre-shading as your base coat. So why don't we cut all of this nonsense with my ugly face on it and let's get cracking. When approaching larger models, what I like to do is, as we did with the infantry, select the areas that will be lighter or darker. In this case, all of the skeleton will be darker green and all of the armor will be a lighter color green. Instead of doing a dry brush through the whole, I'm going to do the stippling because I think it's just a more time efficient technique. So I'm just going to go with this large brush, and I'm just going to stipple it down onto the hole. I'm going to start with the hole first, and I can do a dry brush later. This might look super messy, but the more layers we do, the better this will look. As the brush starts to unload, we can begin to do like a circular motion. It will help with coverage and smoothing out all of the imperfections. For the darker areas, I'm just going to do a dry brush. I just want to catch a little bit of this sundry dust all over the surfaces. With the second layer of stippling, you can see that the result is starting to look much better. The surfaces start to look more uniform, and we're going to keep on building this until we have a solid layer of this all over the hull. And we can play with this to enhance the zenithal highlight. As you can see, we can just keep it darker towards the bottom, lighter towards the top, etc. We have our first stippling dry brush, whatever you want to call it, layer done, and it's looking pretty awesome. You can already see we have some volumetric highlights and shadows. We have a very differentiated first layer from the darker and the lighter parts, and now we are going to further increase that with the next one, which is the same as we did with the infantry, a 2-to-1 mix of white and sundry dust. And the process is going to be basically the same. Starting with the stippling, which we're going to concentrate further up. Here on the lower sections, we're going to just pick up the edges. Same here, more aggressive towards the top, lighter and softer towards the bottom. And on the darker part, we again just going to pick up the very edges very lightly. That step is now done, and we are going to move into the pure white, and as before, with the smaller highlight comes the smaller brush, and this time I'm just going to pick up the edges on the armor, making sure my brush is loaded correctly, and I'm just going to pick up the edges here. Doesn't matter if we go a little bit onto the flat body. Here on the darker part, I'm just picking up the most top facing edges, just like that. This is basically our picking up the details phase, so we go with our small brush and we go around picking up all the details that we want to be highlighted in the final model. So with all of the dry brushing now done, it's time to move into the difficult bit, which is applying all of the express paints on our Sentinel. And the first step is going to be to paint the structure, like the skeleton structure of the Sentinel. And for this I'm going to use a mix of 1 part Lizard Green and 1 part Omega Blue, but I'm also adding a little bit of water because these are very large areas and we need the paint to flow, which is kind of the difficult part about painting vehicles with this kind of paints. So to try to mitigate that, this is my advice. And luckily, Express paints admit water really well, so we're not going to run into any issues with paint breaking down or separating or doing weird stuff. How much water you want to add? Well, I just did a brush full load of water onto, I think it was 4 drops of Omega Blue and 4 drops of Lizard Green, so I have enough Express paint to paint the whole skeleton of this Sentinel. And as you can see, it's going on super smoothly. Even so, I'm going section by section, being very careful that I finish in one before moving into the others, taking care that I'm not leaving any poolings or any ugly stuff like that there. The dark green bits are now finished, and it's time to tackle the black bits. And there aren't really many here, just this gun, and I'm just going to use Black Lotus to do this. And now it's time for the main attraction, which will be all of the green bits. And for this I'm going to use a mix of 3 parts Lucid Green, 1 part Play Green, and a brush full of this. I added a brush full of this to 6 parts Lucid Green and 2 parts Play Green, so you have a big reference. Again, the water here is to help the paint flow better. And we're going to start as quickly as possible, covering everything here, moving the brush in the direction we want the pooling to happen. It's crucial that we are quick here because we need to let the paint level itself, and for that it really needs all the help we can give it, because this is the absolute limit of what I would probably try to paint using this kind of paint. Anything bigger, and I highly recommend you use an airbrush. But I think I can do this and make it look decent, so I want to give it a shot. Okay, so this doesn't look that bad, and now it's time to absorb any pooling that we see that is too egregious, being careful to also pop any bubbles that may happen, which can, especially when moving this much paint this quickly. And you can see that the paint is extremely good at leveling itself, creating a quite uniform and stable surface. So our layer is mostly dry, and I will have to say I am pretty happy with this. It's not perfect, but given the size and the extreme flat panels that we just painted, I think it looks fantastic. But I want to add a little bit more depth, especially here on the cabin, which is the most important bit. And for this I'm just going back to the same mix with no water this time, and I'm going to apply it here towards the bottom, just like that. I'm going to clean my brush very well, and going to feather this out into the upper section, creating a deeper shading there, increasing the effect of the volume essentially. I'm going to do the same on all of the bits, increasing that volumetric shading and creating a hopefully a very good looking vehicle at the end. I can also increase the recess shading with a very quick recess shade all across here, for example. And I can of course blend this so it's not too stark. With the main body finished and honestly looking pretty good, I'm going to move into all of the little details, and this will be very simple. I will basically just follow the same recipes I did for the infantry, with the only exception this ammo box that I just want to paint red because I think it looks good. For this I'm using Velvet Red. And as I was just saying, I will just use the same colors I did for the infantry, for example Play Green here on this canvas. A mix of Copper Brown and Black Lotus for the leather. And finally some Whistle Brown thinned down with Express Medium for the rope. And for the metallic details I'm just going to paint them all with Lead Belcher. I will wash them with Army Painter Dark Tone. And I'm going to edge highlight them using Vallejo Modeler Steel. If you want to finish the model with style, you can always add some chipping into the green armor. For this I'm going to use a green camo, which is also perfectly suitable for this task. I recommend you use this stippling weathering to hide any crimes that you might have on the model, as well as reinforcing some highlights. I ended up fetching a sponge and using that for the rest of the model because ain't nobody got time for that. And to finish off the chipping, you can use a dark brown color and make a small chip inside of the bigger one. I'm using Rhinox hide here. I think it's the perfect color for this. With some finishing touches added like the subtle red OSL details, which were made using my red OSL tutorial, and a super cool and simple plasma effect that I will be showing you how to do in the next video, the Sentinel is now done and I was so happy with it that even put decals and everything. I never do that. I might even end up painting a small army of these guys. They are amazing. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget that if you like my videos and want to help me make them, you can follow me on social media. You have the links to all my social media in the description below and the pinned comment of this video. Share and like this video, but most importantly there is Patreon and channel members. Patrons and members allow me to do all the cool videos that I want to make, and most importantly they allow me to release them all for free here on YouTube. Perks include access to an amazing Discord community full of lovely people, early access to some of the videos, and now also private one-on-one online tutorings. You have 2 tier options for those 45 minutes and 3 hours. They are filling fast, so if you want to have a private tutoring with me, don't hesitate and join now. Help me and my family enjoy the list of the coolest persons in the planet, including Chiaroscuris, Giovanni Constanza, Martin Pasco, Flo, Will Ewing, Terry Denham, Robert Smith, The Rhinosaur, Heather Amstead, Stefan Franiate, Tim Z, Thomas, Greg Osborne, Howard Holville, Chris Gothenthal, Thomas Ustergaard, Javi Mota, Mark Arkinson, Christoph Moret, Victor Dome, Nicolas Fournel, Felix Franke, Brendan Smith, Alfredo Phillips, Teno Uchida, Carlos Rivera, Stephanie Old, Nick DeMao, David Sutherland, Riel Nilsson, Tastet, Oscar Jonathan Torberg, Dan Mako, Cristalios, Jimmy Milligan, Kevin Mian, Darcy Farrar, Chris Fivey, Natius Maximus, Arundel, Gareth Smith, Mark Jarvis, Josh Simpson, Charles Armitage, G-Force, Dr. V, Renald Lindemann, Kieran Murthail, and Kevin Sulas for being the coolest persons in the planet. And as for me, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!